This is the second part of a two-part essay written on New Year's Day, 2022, by Mario V. Melendez. Here goes. Today is New Year's Day. It's all about new beginnings and all the unlimited possibilities 2022 holds for all of us. But speaking of possibilities, the one who could have possibly found the cure for cancer, or could have possibly written the next great American novel, or could have possibly inspired peace around the world, might have already been killed in the womb. We will never know. But again, this two-part post is strictly about science, not about religion or morality or ethics or the endless human possibilities that were unfortunately aborted 64 million times since 1973. If in part 1 I seem too hard on Justice Sonia Sotomayor about fetal pain, it's nothing personal, even if, in the interest of full disclosure, I was never impressed with her judicial philosophy, that is, her fondness for judicial legislation. Legislation is for the legislature exclusively to do, not the judiciary. But it looks like her unseemly tendency for overreach encroaches not only the legislature but even science, dismissing fetal science as fringe science. That's disrespecting a whole category of very gifted scientists whose training and work are as academically rigorous as hers, if not even more so. No one in the scientific community in general, or in the fetal pain community in particular, has ever said that about their peers in that highly ethical area of medicine, even those they have heated scientific debate with. It should also be said here that in the search for truth, the scientific method by which scientists do it is as worthy of respect, if not more so, as the judicial process by which lawyers like Justice Sotomayor do it. Indeed, her mocking of a vital branch of medicine is pure personal hubris and very unprofessional of her. The Supreme Court didn't invite these experts to submit an amicus brief only for them to be insulted. She owes them an apology. Below is an excerpt from the same scientific paper I cited in part 1 of this post. On the valuable contributions of fetal science, quote, 2 examples of practice changes include 1. Increased use of kangaroo care, where the premature baby is placed in skin-to-skin contact with either the mother's or father's chest, and 2. Cue-based care, times by which, instead of checking vital signs every 3 hours, the staff tries not to interrupt valuable sleep and uses, within reason, the baby's cues that they are awake or in need of being tended to. Multiple centres involved in performance improvement projects associated with the Vermont-Oxford Network, VON, Orvon, an international consortium of more than 1,300 hospitals working to improve neonatal care have made these and other changes to intentionally decrease noxious stimuli from a variety of sources. This has led to the creation of small baby units within NICU or neonatal intensive care units, and many hospitals have presented their versions of small baby units as part of their performance improvement results at VON's annual national conference, as well as in formal publications. Again, evidence indicates that our most vulnerable patients are healthier when noxious stimuli is reduced. Unquote. Given those critical improvements in hospital infant care best practices that fetal science triggered worldwide, does it really sound like fringe science? To put it bluntly, Sotomayor should know her place, mind her own business, stay in her lane, and leave the debate about fetal pain to the scientists whose expertise it is. But even in her own lane, she seems to be doing a lousy job. Copied and pasted at the bottom of this post is an excerpt lifted verbatim from an amicus brief. In the case before her, Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, if you care to read it, to show it's rigorously researched, I left the footnote numbers intact, 20 in all. If she read it, she didn't seem to understand it, even if it's already considerably dumbed down by the scientists who wrote it precisely for non-scientists like her and me. It's not easy reading, but if I could comprehend it, why couldn't she? Or did she even bother to read it, which is strictly her job to do as a judge in the case? If she read it and understood it but was unpersuaded by it, the very least she could have taken away from it is that even among fetal pain scientists, there is currently a divide between those who believe that the fetus beginning as early as 12 weeks gestation, or even earlier at 7 weeks gestation, can feel pain, and those who don't believe it. In other words, there is doubt. After all, raising doubt is exactly the way science works, and such doubts are resolved one way or the other by the scientific method. But Sotomayor's lane is not science, but law. That's where she's welcome to come in, since that's precisely her lane. In law, doubts are always resolved in favour of what's equitable and humane. And, if the law might err, it prefers to err on the side of caution, or even an overabundance of caution. For indeed, what if a fetus can feel pain? Wouldn't that be an unspeakable horror worth avoiding even on the slightest chance a fetus can experience it? In law, there's a saying, "It is better that 10 guilty persons escape than that one innocent suffer." Quote, unquote. Shouldn't that standard for compassion also be analogously applied to babies in the womb too, with respect to fetal pain? Isn't it more humane that they're presumed to feel pain than that they're presumed not to? Imagine the unspeakable horror they're subjected to if, indeed, they do feel pain. Because of that, this doubt must always be resolved in favour of the unborn feeling pain. Shouldn't that be the decision arrived at by a wise Latina, quote unquote, as she famously described herself to be in a speech in 2001? No childless Democrat living by her lonesome with her cat because she aborted her unborn children will ever want her beloved cat subjected to pain. Then why, oh why, did she allow to be butchered her very own flesh and blood who can feel pain? In fact, childless cat ladies like her are probably proud card-carrying members of PETA, or People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. But if there's ever a PETU, People for the Ethical Treatment of Unborns, and there ought to be one if there isn't one yet, these childless cat ladies probably won't give a damn. How does that even make sense? Fetal pain, or even the remote possibility of it, is precisely why, while the debate on it rages on, among physicians and neuroscientists, ethics dictates that fetal surgery is never done without anesthesia. So indeed, if currently there is scientific doubt on fetal pain at whatever stage of gestation, the choice should be a no-brainer, especially for a lawyer and a judge, a justice of the Supreme Court no less, like Sotomayor. Now you know why I'm especially critical of her, not to mention her being someone that Democrats very much look up to. It does look like the political party of "I feel your pain," as famously said by President Bill Clinton. Another stalwart that Democrats look up to is empty rhetorics. But it's a soundbite so associated with him that it might as well be the Clinton doctrine. And of course, it doesn't apply to the most vulnerable among us, the innocents, who cannot scream in pain as they're barbarically cut up in the womb. As for President Donald Trump, when the Republicans' pain-capable Unborn Child Protection Act failed to pass again in 2017 because of Democrat opposition in the Senate, he expressed his disappointment thus, quote, "Recently, when I addressed the 45th Annual March for Life, I called on the Senate to pass the pain-capable Unborn Child Protection Act, important legislation that would protect our most vulnerable. It is disappointing that despite support from a bipartisan majority of U.S. senators, This bill was blocked from further consideration. Scientific studies have demonstrated that babies in the womb feel pain at 20 weeks. The vote by the Senate rejects scientific fact and puts the United States out of the mainstream in the family of nations in which only 7 out of 198 nations, including China and North Korea, allow elective abortions after 20 weeks of pregnancy. We must defend those who cannot defend themselves. I urge the Senate to reconsider its decision and pass legislation that will celebrate, cherish, and protect life." Unquote. Because of the Democrats' steadfast opposition, that bill has failed 4 times to pass into law since 2013. Again, since this post is strictly about science, I'll save my extraneous comments on this matter when I get to the part of this series about the Democrat Party not only being anti-science, but also anti-ethics, so stay tuned. Meantime, Happy New Year to one and all, especially to the most vulnerable among us, who, unlike Justice Sotomayor, cannot exult in joy or scream in pain. That's the end of part 2 of a 2-part essay of Mario V. Melendez on fetal pain, written on January 1st, 2022. It's just one installment in a series of long-form posts on his Facebook page entitled "Why We Filipino Americans Refuse to Be Democrat or WW Fart, Be Dems for short," a growing compilation of distinct reasons, 35 so far, why they should stay as far away as possible from the Democrat Party. To access it, please scan the QR code on screen.